Happy, I don't know, Halloween? Sure. And welcome to Deep Space and Dragons. I'm Richard, the person who spent way too much energy on college applications this week.
And I am Karl, the person who spent zero energy on college applications this week.
Indeed. And yeah, welcome to the show. How are you this week in the Carlverse catchphrase?
Carlverse is a catchphrase now?
Into the Carlverse is, in fact, like our most popular segment, especially since we don't have like the budget or sound cues to really have segments. Well, it was until you stopped
Right.
nearly killing yourself. It's like, oh, he's going to talk about horror movies. I'm like, that's not nearly different enough a narrative tone for our main show. You need to be playing with buzzsaws. There has to be a.
Yeah, that's true.
You got domesticated and your buying drops considerably.
Man, that's too bad.
Like, if
Yeah, I don't really actually have an interesting thing to talk about this week then, because I was going to talk about how obviously now it's heading towards Christmas, and so instead of watching horror Halloween movies, you got to watch Christmas movies.
you know what would be
Um,
fun? Probably not right now, but some episode listing our top favorite non-traditional Christmas movies, because Gundam Wing Endless Waltz is a great Christmas movie.
Well, you see, for the Halloween season, we watched Terrifier and Terrifier 2, um, which the whole Terrifier series I would describe as gruesome, gory fun. That's not really narratively like the story. It's not exciting storytelling. That's but um, in the spirit of Christmas, you gotta watch Christmas movies, and so we watched Krampus.
Ah,
So that's a good one. Well, that one was definitely way more horrifying than I thought it would be. Um, and then we also watched Terrifier 3 because it takes place at Christmas time.
you know, I feel like Christmas horror is a surprisingly populated genre. Like, I'm even thinking like Futurama's take on Robot Santa, and I'm like, that is absolutely a hot take. And this is going to be an episode entirely of hot takes with our random question stack ready to go.
But yeah, no. So I mean, the basic overarching plot of the Terrifier series is that there's
Scary?
some sort of there's some sort of demon that is using the clown serial killer as a tether to try and come into the real world.
Yeah.
Um, and then he leaves behind victims for the demon to possess.
Okay.
And I mean that's then the main character of Terrifier 2 and 3 is the daughter of a comic book artist who appears to have been part of some sort of angelic anti-demon force, and used his life experience as an anti-demon hunter to write comics.
That feels like a much better manga than it would deserve to be. Well, like, me and my friend today were brainstorming ideas for, like, J Novel Club's write a light novel and submit it by December contest. And
Yeah.
some of the ideas we brainstormed, like, one of them was, you know, it'd be really funny an anime retelling like Legend of Arslan, but the American Civil War, but everyone's needlessly pretty and Bishonen. So you'd have pretty Bishonen Abraham Lincoln shooting Confederates. It'd be great. And like the logic,
That'd
like
be pretty funny.
it's like they all have these dumb cinemars on their side and rifles, and you can do sick choreography if you just use them. Like
Right.
someone does the thing where you club someone with the rifle and then catch it and spin it around your neck so the bullet fires, Gurren Lagann style. Like that's how it's done.
Um, but I mean, so like I say, they're not pushing the narrative envelope with demons and angels and whatnot. But I'm invested now. But the most important thing to note about Terrifier 3, even more so than the second one, the Terrifier 3 has gained a reputation of being so gross and disgusting that people throw up, pass out, call ambulances, or leave the theater because they're just can't handle it.
Or a redacted theater I used to work at never fixed that oven and it's a carbon monoxide leak.
Well, so me and my fiance went to see Terrifier. We were 2 out of 4 people who were in the theater that night. Um, and the other 2 people, they left after a half hour. They couldn't hack it.
Hooray, you had a private screening, a romantic moment of a deeply disturbing, disgusting movie. Good job.
Yeah, yeah. It was the Art the Clown has his own Christmas theme song, and the gist of it is that he's just trying to outdo himself with how gruesome his killings can be, all the while trying to torment the daughter of the comic book artist, so that her spirit will break and the demon can possess her.
Spooky.
Yeah. Anyways, I mean I haven't really been doing much interesting stuff lately, and I mean, just been working, which involves
To
know.
be fair, for doing interesting stuff, this is going to be a
Mhm.
hot take. I probably do more interesting stuff. You just live in a more interesting hell-infested hellscape. Like, it's not that you had an interesting day because you chose to get robbed. It's not like you saw someone dragged off the street into an ambulance. It's like the active versus passive protagonist. You're more in a Saitama situation where nonsense happens around you and you're largely unaffected by it. Where I'm more Regan from Mob Psycho, where most things that happen to me are super dramatic and absolutely my fault.
Well, I mean, once it snows, hopefully it snows a lot. I'm really hopeful.
It's like plus
because
20
I
out
want
here. Like I went outside today in a t-shirt and shorts.
Well, anyway, I'm really hoping it snows here, and that we get lots of snow, and then I can build a Quincy, and then I will regale people with tales of the Quincy.
I'm sorry, what? Like the bleach Quincy or a different Quincy?
Well, basically, you just pile a bunch of snow and then you dig it out. And apparently, they're so warm that when you're in there, you might have to actually make a chimney to allow some of the heat to escape. Otherwise, you'll overheat.
You see, the thing is, I knew that word and what you're talking about, but I also have been going through the new season of Bleach, and I'm like, you're going to make a giant snow Uryu? I don't know why, but I'm intrigued.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I'm gonna be like Luke Skywalker in the one where he climbs into the snow monster
And
and
this is the
survives.
danger of yes-anding each other.
Yeah, well, yeah. Firstly, you make a giant statue of someone out of snow,
The Quincy
and
King.
well, yeah, and then I don't know where the best place to create the hole to climb in would be, but I mean, I guess probably in the gut. That's probably the best place.
You know what's great? People have went through like 90 hours of this show.
Well, anyways, hypothetical snow forts aside, what's new in the Richard sphere?
I spent $700 in university applications this week, and I am deeply destroyed. Every law
Deeply
school's like
destroyed.
$200. Every master program's like $150. And I'm like,
Mm.
I'm gonna better myself. Goodbye, paycheck. It's like it's gambling too. It's like, ooh, we only let in so many people. I'm like, this is such a racket. Boo this. I'm paying. Ugh, nothing like paying a fee to earn the privilege to give them money. It's like a Taylor Swift ticket lottery. So that's been. Oh, I also went to a poetry workshop, which was fun. Where one of the poetry exercises they did is they had a random word generator yell out words, and you're supposed to like grab the words as you are writing and integrate them.
Ah,
Admit it, that sounds kind of fun,
that does sound kind of fun.
right? So we went through this writing workshop with this famous poet, and I'm like, I've been doing more school events because if I get off work at 4 at Redacted and the event's at 6, and a friend meets up for me for dinner, then boom, I've had a full day.
Ah.
So honestly, like, besides writing countless essays and portfolios and things for law school and master's programs, and setting up like 5 to 6 accounts and things, and working full time and writing my new book, and somehow sneaking in beating the entirety of re-metaphor, re-phantasmo metaphor or something or other from Atlas. I've had a pretty full time lately. Like, I'm good. I've I've been busy. I don't know if I've ever been more
Man.
busy. I also got a Fiverr request, someone wanting to write those, those tacky Instagram revenge stories? Where it's like, ooh,
Okay.
someone did something and they like stole their car. Someone wrote me an offer to commission me to write those. I'm like, I normally don't turn down writing work, but those are really lame and I'm busy.
Well, I mean, if you're writing it, you can make it not so lame.
No, you really can't. So my girlfriend broke up with me, but the revenge is that my 1982 Chevrolet that she keyed is now worth more money. Like, those are always just so petty. Like, the moral of those if you're literally writing justified revenge stories, that means that neither person's being the bigger person, and I hate those.
Yeah, okay, I guess that's fair.
It's like, she stole my car but didn't realize that the engine needed to be changed and got stuck in the woods. Haha, that'll learn her. I'm like, you both suck. Sure, the story makes you sound like a bad person, but cackling at your vengeance also makes you a bad person. As a professional villain, I can safely say the difference between a villain and a supervillain is theatrics, and no theatrics are at play in any of those stories.
You just made me think of something that is actually interesting and new. Well, kind of. Um, I have a work friend. I know friends are hard to come by
Have
nowadays,
they
but
tried to smoke an orange peel?
no. They're not that kind of person. They're much more stable than that. They're just the kind of person who plays Warhammer 40K and has a couple $1,000s worth of minifigs.
Okay, this is
Apparently,
suspicious. This is super suspicious. A coworker of yours plays Warhammer 40K. Before I could even make the joke about how expensive that hobby is, you're like, "Oh, look at all the minifigures," and I'm like, "How? Like, are they a method actor learning to play a pizzeria character when they play Spider-Man in the next movie? Like, how do you Warhammer and food service? I did the food
yeah,
service tour. I can talk this shade.
I don't know. I don't know how old his collection is. I do know that his roommate, I think, is on permanent disability, and he says that he probably has like $1 million worth of like magic cards and Warhammer
Yeah,
figs,
it's
and
called One
like
Warhammer
he's
Army."
in any event, uh, he's part of a play by post um, Vampire the Masquerade
I do love that game.
game.
I do dislike playing play by post. Not because
Oh,
there's a so play by post is great in theory.
mm,
So some people have trains of thought, right? People who don't have
yeah,
diagnosed ADHD. I have a Roomba of thought. It just
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of goes across the floor at random, and if you don't mess with it, it functions fine, but then it usually just hits a wall and bounces, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with my attention span, even if I really care about something, and we've tried doing play by post things, even with just the two of us before, I will get not even lose interest, I will lose focus and object permanence on a play by post campaign.
Fair enough.
I'm pretty sure the main reason I DM is playing 500 characters is enough to keep me occupied.
Anyways, um, my character, I've kind of been procrastinating on actually making a character sheet. I think I have
It's
it
Vampire
all
the
kind of
Masquerade.
mapped
You
out, but
know who you play. You play Strauss in his Hawaiian
no,
shirt.
I am playing Philip Marlowe, the legendary detective. Um, but the story is that he was investigating a murder. Turned out that the perpetrator was a vampire, and then for the greater good of society, he murdered the vampire. Uh,
Pause for
but
a second. I have to use
then,
up one of our limited swears from the swear jar. Shit, that's good.
mhm. but so then, because he obviously has uh, quite a bit of talent as an investigator, and if the feat of a normal human defeating a vampire is impressive, he got turned so that no other vampire clan might be able to use his skills against them.
So, when we were doing our noir episode a while back, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen like a straight up noir vampire story, and I'm like, that feels so obvious though.
the noir vampire detective.
Right?
So far all that he's done is I walked up to the mansion where we're having this initial meeting that I'm I'm not really sure exactly what's going on yet. I know that a whole bunch of people have been invited to this mansion turned hideout, and there's a werewolf there for some reason, part of our party.
I mean,
But
to be fair, if you build a team of vampires, some asshole's going to want to be a werewolf, and it'd probably be me. Actually, no, when I play characters, I usually play, because I'm so used to DMing, I basically build an NPC so I can facilitate other people's playing in the game. Like, I've literally built warlocks without Eldritch Blast and only have help, so I can encourage other people to do more stuff.
right,
Yeah,
that
you
does
heard me,
sound like
Internet.
something
I
you would
built a
do.
5e warlock that had guidance as a cantrip and control flame, but didn't have firebolt or eldritch blast because attacking's for chumps. And so I reverse min max. I specifically picked a cobalt so I could have a strength stat of 6 to start.
That's funny. But yeah, I haven't actually finished my character sheet yet. I introduced my character, and um, I don't know if I'm gonna like the DM didn't ask me for any sort of roles when I was walking up to the mansion and being like, I'm checking the windows and looking for footprints and making note of all the names on the tombstones and
So to follow that up, one of our random questions, because this is a random question episode, kind of
yeah.
segues in nicely. What is a conspiracy theory in a fictional universe you secretly believe could be true in our universe? So you need to find a fictional conspiracy that turned out to be a conspiracy in that fiction that you think is a surprisingly legit theory.
Mm, a, cons- a fictional conspiracy theory that could be legit.
Yeah. Or
That's
let's do the less complicated version of that. What is a conspiracy theory? What is a fan theory in a fictional universe you believe could be true? Like, I think that Usopp is Soga King has some merit, despite that being an absurd fan theory. So let's change that question a bit. What's a fan theory in a fictional universe you believe could be true? For a while, I really liked the fan theory that Obito was the second Hokage and not the obvious Obito, because that would have actually been a twist.
that would have been quite the twist. Yeah. Hmm.
Oh, wait, one came up
Oh,
recently that Aizen is Captain Hippie's son.
that Aizen is Captain Hippie's son.
There's a fan theory. They both have illusion powers. They talk to each other on a first name basis. There's a flashback to Captain Hippie look kind of like Aizen, and that's why he releases Aizen.
Because
Also,
he's actually secretly his dad.
he's a harlot, so the statistical odds that he has children out there are pretty good.
Well, see, I unfortunately I really don't do that much additional research after I watch or before or after I watch anything. So like I'm not really up to date with many fan theories. Like the only fan theory that immediately comes to mind, or well, not even fan. Okay, I guess no. Okay, now I got to think back because game theory.
Here we
Film,
go.
film, my favorite theory is the one that Leonardo DiCaprio from Titanic is a time traveler.
Yes, yes. I don't know what episode. I think we talked about this on our Avatar episode forever ago. But please
Yeah,
recap.
probably because James Cameron, the legendary sci-fi director that he is, has exactly one romance to his name, namely the Titanic. But Leonardo DiCaprio's character, Jack, he makes at least 3 references to man-made objects that were not made when the Titanic set sail. His backpack is not era appropriate, and he swoops out of nowhere, wins a game of chance to get onto the ship, and then disappears without a trace.
So,
Combine that with the fact that James Cameron almost always does sci-fi, and you got a recipe for the idea that he's a time traveler. And honestly, the idea that time travel actually exists, I think it's possible.
So an interesting follow up to that, which is kind of unhinged. They recently released a new season of The Legend of Vox Machina, which is a Critical Role animated series, and they
Hmm.
have two characters on a door floating away. It's like good thing this door fits two people, and that just made me laugh. Like they knew what they were doing. And I'm like, wow. It's like, okay, guys, you kickstarted for millions of dollars, made it to season 3 to make this bit happen. I cannot believe no one else has ever done this bit. This is amazing. So, our question 3 on our list, for context, the last one was question 6. Question 3: if your life had to be directed by a famous sci-fi director, who would you pick, and what would the plot twist be?
Who would
Like
I
your
pick?
James Cameron opening there, I'm like that pivots into this weird question very nicely.
Uh, hmm. Yeah, yeah, okay. Now I'm thinking about
So I'm going a weird
sci-fi
one,
movies.
and you might say I can't get away with this, but I kind of want to go. So sci-fi and fantasy is always a weird line because I kind of want
Hmm.
Hayao Miyazaki to direct my sci-fi movie life because it'd just be full of like deep themes and cute shit. Like if I was in like a Howl's Moving Castle sci-fi situation, that would be
Right.
so cool. So it's like I want to take someone who doesn't sci-fi and make them sci-fi to see what happens. But it might not be the best choice to do with my life. What I really need to do is I need to look up who directed Star Trek Lower Decks because I would fit very well. Like Star Trek is like the best fictional sci-fi setting to be in. Like
Mm.
this has the highest odds of just having a good life.
Right.
Oh, and the twist would be for if I got Miyazaki to do it, that it was sci-fi is the twist.
Right. Right. Hmm. Now I gotta look up lists of sci-fi directors, and I mean like uh sci-fi directors, and see
So
20 most
apparently,
beloved
Barry
sci-fi
J. Kelly
directors.
is the supervising director for the animated series Star Trek Lower Decks. Yeah, that's who I need directing it. That works for me. Or Mike Mahan is the showrunner. Yeah. And the plot twist being, if I'm on a Star Trek show with my personality, that I'm not a villain.
Oh, oh man. Hmm. I do like RoboCop. RoboCop is great.
I don't know if you want to be in RoboCop. However, the idea that that pizza robbery went bad and now you're a RoboCop, RoboCop taking place in Saskatchewan just immediately adds some magic to it.
Yeah, I feel like that'd be the twist. There'd be like a half hour to 40 minutes of me just being normal stuff, and then like cutting away to like some sort of like crazy guy doing crazy stuff, and then he breaks into the store and boom,
You know what would be
now it's a
wild,
RoboCop movie.
actually? It starts as a Clerks movie and turns into RoboCop at the three-quarters point.
uh,
Uh, all right, here's the next one, which this one's pretty fun. Not related in any way, but I kind of enjoy the train of thought here. What
okay, okay.
sidekick do you think would make the worst main character despite being a dope sidekick if they got their own story?
A dope sidekick that makes a terrible main character.
Like, my first thought is Genos. Because, like, if you did have,
Hmm.
like, Genos just loses every fight despite being really cool. And if it's like,
Right.
if it was his story, I'm like, oh man, it would just be like watching Worf's the show. Master Roshi. Master Roshi would be deeply problematic to run a show.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like, they made him a little
Um.
better in Super, but not really. Ugh. And
Hmm.
like he was an iconic character, but time has made that this man cannot have a show.
Yeah, that's true. Hmm. Man, I'm so blanking on sidekicks. Like, dang, I don't know.
Like I'll allow side characters. Like if you want to just be like Sasuke, I'd be like, yeah, that's fair actually.
I don't know. I actually really liked the Sasuke side story where the guy was using Edo Tensei to resurrect dinosaurs.
So I'm mad because Eido Tensei is broken, and I'm mad that Sasuke with the power to make meteors didn't drop a meteor on a dinosaur. It's also like he went undercover when he's so stupidly broken. There's no reason. It's like It'd be like if Goku went undercover. You're just like, but you can blow up this entire city. Why are you bothering? You specifically have a power to brainwash people to tell you the truth. It's like, I think if that side story starred his daughter, I would have been on board. But Sasuke himself
Mm,
literally has a power to trap someone for 72 hours and slap them with a trout.
that is true. Sasuke is a walking nuclear bomb.
Yeah, Sasuke and Boruto forgot that when he was 12, he could do this shit. And they didn't nerf him. He just forgets that he's broken.
Mm. You know, what sidekick would make a terrible main character? Kit from Knight Rider. If he was
Oh
the main character,
man.
I don't know
Yeah.
how you would do that.
You know, I was gonna say Robin, and then I remember Teen Titans existed and had to quickly backtrack off that one. Because it's like, oh no, wait, no, his show, Ed Young Justice, it turns out he actually makes a better main character than Batman somehow.
Patrick Star from SpongeBob SquarePants, I think he'd be a pretty
I
bad
think he
main
got
character.
his own show. I think they made the Patrick Star show.
Yeah, that sounds like it would be awful.
I would not
probably
dignify
was.
that with a watch.
No, I would not.
But that was a
Terrible.
good random question.
Okay.
All right, the next one, in no particular order. Which magical creature would make the best CEO of a modern tech company and why? So it's Nicol Bolas for me.
Well, I mean, I was definitely leaning towards Dragon. That kind of seems like
I should have said Nibs Mizzet, but instead I went with the much eviler one. That's on me. Like, the correct answer is Niv Mizzet up to Yizit, but instead I just put Nicol Bolas in charge of Tesla, which might result in it being slightly more ethical.
No, I think Nicol Bolas is probably a better CEO than Niv Mizzet.
Remember that time Nicol Bolas wiped out the entire population so their gods would cease to exist so he could hack them and take control of them and then laminate the entire civilization so they'd be objects and could be warped to another world to murder them? Top tier CEO behavior.
Well, I mean, yeah, people don't really like.
Man,
CEOs
Magic
have
Lore
to
was
be
so cool
ruthless.
before they started doing their Infinite Universe crossover bullshit. Anywho. So, I think we just agreed on... I agreed on Nico and you agreed on Bolas. Like, fair enough,
Yeah,
I guess.
I definitely think Dragon for sure. I mean...
I want to put a Jabberwocky in charge of one of these, like, buzzword startups. Like, in charge of crypto, like a literal Jabberwocky. The nonsense Boogaloo. The nonsense Boogaloo is telling you that the blockchain will hold the fungible tokens. It tracks.
It definitely tracks.
And I'm pretty sure Microsoft is actually just run by a Sphinx.
Yeah, well, see, I mean, the thing is that you have to choose, like something or someone or something that's like
Psychotic.
dapper. They have to be sophisticated.
I mean, Mr. Mixoplexus would be great, but I don't think that's a magical creature. I think the part of two is like we're defining best because me and you went best, so we immediately went anti-capitalist and went evilist.
Definitely.
Immediately, my first thought was Nicol Bolas, a character famous for evil.
Well, I mean, okay, so
His signature move is Cruel Ultimatum.
Fundamentally, I think that when a company gets to a certain size, and I don't know what the size is, but when a company gets to a certain size, or maybe it's a success, they begin to care more about profits than they do about their consumers.
Although I have this weird take like that, I believe it's a company's job to make profit, and the government's supposed to step in, and that's where the real problem is. Because
that's probably true.
Asking the literal gold hoarding dragon Smaug to be good on his own and believing in trickle-down economics is just foolish. He's a gold-hoarding dragon named Smaug.
But see, Smaug would make a great CEO because he would focus so heavily on profits, you know.
Although counterpoint, because of my deep hatred of some of these tech companies, Godzilla in charge, and then the tech company solved.
Godzilla's so smart he has two brains.
You're not wrong. Oh. Also, I just think it'd really
Hmm.
be funny to just put like a majestic unicorn behind the front desk and they're on a swivel chair.
Well, I mean, Sphinx seems pretty majestically wise. Uh, uh,
But let's be real. It would, if I was the one writing the story, it would just be a regular kobold that worked his way to the top with a sideways tie. It'd be great. His name would be like Glip Zip or something. And he'd be Glip Zip, started selling Glip Zip's ointment, and now Glip Zip is in charge of Johnson and Johnson and Johnson.
hmm.
Shall we move on to the
Hmm.
next one?
Sure.
What item or artifact from any fictional world do you think would make a surprisingly great reality TV show premise?
An artifact. Um.
Or item from a fictional world to be used as a reality TV show premise? So I'm going to start with my favorite one of the sword that puts you into people's backstories. The entire reality TV show is we film this person just injecting themselves into this person's entire life story in an instant.
Uh. Well, see, I was thinking about like
The Dragon
I
Balls would
forget
be
what they're
pretty sick, actually, to literally watch them find 7 magic balls and the prize is an actual wish.
well, I mean, I was thinking like the D&D Pocket Castle.
Ooh, Pocket Castle. Yeah, actually.
That'd be a pretty good one. Or the Ring of Invisibility. I mean, specifically, I guess I'd be thinking about um, the One Ring would be a very that'd be an interesting reality
I'm pretty
TV show.
sure that was just called The Apprentice.
Watching people run away from the Nazgul.
Yeah, that is accurate. I love the idea. For $1 million, bring this ring to Morador. Can you ring it? Definitely not the Death Note.
Mm, okay. The Dragon Balls was definitely a pretty good one.
The TARDIS would be pretty good for a reality TV show.
Mm.
So would the hyperbolic time chamber.
Well, I mean, so would a spaceship just in general, like a actual reality TV show of people just living their life on a spaceship.
Probably not the Ark of the Covenant. However, Shendu's Dragon Talismans would be a pretty good one.
Ooh, yeah, that's true. Shendu's Dragon Talismans. Let's see. Hmm. Uh, the Millennium Puzzle.
Yes. Just
Like
yes.
an actual a reality TV show that just followed the King of Games going around messing with people.
Especially season 0, Yami. Damn. In today's episode, we're playing ice hockey with gunpowder. Like, I was going to go the dual disc direction.
Season 0, Yami.
Like, the dual disc one would be great reality TV, but actual King of Games, Yami, oof. That is just captivating.
That would be a pretty good reality TV show.
All right, our next one on this arbitrary list, I'm going to jump ahead to number 19. I've had this conversation with you before a few times. You get to become the author of one classic book, but you have to rewrite it as fantasy or sci-fi. Which book do you pick and what's the twist?
Rewrite a classic book
as fantasy or sci-fi.
Fantasy or sci-fi.
What's the book and what's the twist? So I had this conversation earlier today. I kind of want to do a Great Gatsby Ikusai. Just like the super American cast of the Great Gatsby thrown in some Elf Kingdom. I'm also really pro doing the Christian Bible as steampunk.
Ooh.
That won't come back to bite me.
I was thinking Huckleberry Finn, but obviously the black people who are slaves are aliens, and so then our main character has to free uses one of the aliens to try and escape down the river on a raft, and has to
the river
come to
is
terms
space,
with the
yes.
fact Yeah, space. It's space. Huckleberry Finn,
Huckleberry's Finn in
where,
space is pretty good.
where the main character realizes that even though you look different on the outside, it's what's on the inside that counts.
I kind of want to rewrite Harry Potter without the transphobia. Maybe as a sci-fi while I'm at it.
What would you do to make it sci-fi?
I don't know yet. Like the exact premise of Harry Potter, but instead of you're a wizard, you're a Jedi.
Hmm.
Nah, Harry Potter's not worth a rewrite. Like, it's the more classic the book, the better. Like, if you did Pride and Prejudice, but Muppets. But that's more a movie situation. And
Mm.
Pride and Prejudice and Zombies has been done. I also really liked Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd century as a cartoon. So I'm completely on board where Sherlock Holmes, actual Sherlock Holmes, frozen in a block of ice and brought back to solve future crimes.
I like the idea of James Bond in a fantasy setting.
You know,
The
yes.
super spy with gadgets.
And he's just a straight up like halfling, like James Bond the halfling. Yeah.
yeah. I think that would be pretty good.
They already did Romance of the Free Kingdoms Gundam. They just beat me to it.
I don't know. Dracula in space would also be interesting.
You know what? Dracula in the Civil War.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of like interesting like I do enjoy sci-fi retellings. Like I think I told you one of my acquaintances wrote a sci-fi retelling of the Count of Monte Cristo in space, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
But also, I am the target audience for that property. I also really love like Brothers Grimm's fairy tale done as sci-fi are always interesting because they get like horrifying xenomorph werewolves and things.
That is true.
So, to move to the next question, because it's kind of a nice natural segue. Question 20.
Okay.
If you could change one minor, often overlooked rule or trope in science fiction or fantasy, what would it be and how it explores the genre? I'm going to steal yours. Saying how long something will take to then have it take longer than the thing. We need the planet will blow up in 10 minutes, and then we do a 50-minute hike. I hate setting a ticking clock in sci-fi and fantasy, and then not accurately having the ticking clock matter. I hate it. Like you didn't have to say it will an hour. You just say it will. It takes a while to charge. But because you told us how long, you then made the scene ridiculous. And it happens a lot. Every Marvel movie is like in 10 minutes the beam, and you're like, all right, I'll start my timer. You're like, that wasn't 10 minutes. He had 10 minutes getting dressed alone.
Okay, so one unwritten or one rule about fantasy or sci-fi
or trope,
a trope or meme.
What would you change or murder? I mean,
change or murder.
If this was an anime question, I'd go off. But sci-fi and fantasy is a little less go off. Because I've mentioned before, I would age up every anime character by 4 years, so they make logical fits in the genre they're in.
Well, see it.
You know, I really enjoy when we have our subtle background music for you to just be like super contemplative. Would you like to skip and come back to this one?
Yeah, maybe. I'm trying to just like.
Or did you take a moment to rapidly go up TV trope sci-fi as fast as you could to find a trope to hate?
Maybe I should. TV tropes.
Shout out to TV tropes. Not a sponsor, just a fan.
I do like science fiction tropes on TV. Okay, let's see.
You know what trope I love, and you can take it over my cold dead fingers, is giant robot weapons that make no sense. Like the steam-powered jackhammer type weapons. They're so dumb and they make me so happy. My most hated trope in all genres is Born Sexy Yesterday. That should just never be in anything.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That should not be in anything.
The fact that that's a trope. Same with the classic fridging tropes. Anything on our Marvel movie bingo card, really. We do not need color-coded sky beams. You know, that's another trope. color-coded beam weapons in sci-fi and fantasy. Although, like, as a viewer, it's kind of handy, but, like, as a writer, it's terrible. Or, here's another trope I'm going to hate on in sci-fi. Beam weapons that have a hammer you pull back. I've seen that more than once. That you cock your beam weapon. And I'm like, no. Just no. Either build a cool sci-fi gun or have a regular gun. You don't need to combine them. I call nonsense.
Okay. I think I've got this.
I had another 20 minutes of ranting in me, but please.
Well, I am slightly annoyed at how often humanoid aliens appear, because humans are just not the ideal evolutionary path for other life forms.
It's true. It's oxycodals.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure what exactly the aliens should look like, but it's like, not only are these aliens humanoid, but like to the point where, like, Saiyan children, that Saiyans can mate with humans, and their children are more powerful because they're half-blooded.
So here's an interesting mini rant. So first, I was playing through that Rifa Fantazo something other metaphor something other game, and they had their various fantasy races. They're elf, they're triclops, they're furry, and then later in the game, spoilers for this game, anyway, for people, we learned that they're basically war mutants of humans, and that's why they're all humanoid. So the one trope I'll counterpoint to that one is, if you have like a progenitor race, like I know Robotech made a point of it and so did Stargate, of we spread this ancient human-like race. Humans are just one of the offsprings of this race that went out of their way to do that.
Right.
Like, it can be good. And there was a D&D explanation I heard where they came up with this lore reason for someone's original D&D world, that the reason there's half humans is they're, like the dwarves were created to craft and the elves were created to be pretentious. Humans were created to multiply, and like their racial ability is they can crossbreed with everything. That like was just like their thing, was to go out and multiply was the thing their god made them to do, so they're just specifically have the magical ability of compatibility.
I guess, yeah, it's not so much the humanoid races that bother me as much as the insane level of compatibility. Like even in Invincible, it's like the Viltrumites, like they can mate with humans, and then their offspring are essentially just Viltrumites, and it's like,
how?
Really?
How? And then like you start going into such weird territory too, of like, not only why can humans do this, or why should they, or how are kids coming out, but where's the line? The line gets real blurry. All right.
As for how that would change the sci-fi genre, I mean, we would see a lot more interesting alien designs. I think that's way more interesting and unique character designs.
I will say, in Star Trek's defense, with the budget they had, they could afford head ridges and occasionally a corn suit. It's like in Star Trek, everyone was humanoid because you could afford that. You could afford green body paint and super gluing antennas on someone's head. But yes, I agree that too much humanoid. It's like to go to Kaido, the Last Evolution, for example, where it's like, it only looks human because its actual form would just blow your brain up. It's like, yeah, it's a fourth dimensional cube. You can't actually, he's like, you can't figure out what I look like. I'm a fourth dimensional cube. It's like, touche.
Yeah. Except that then the humans still had children with the fourth dimensional beings, and that was this twist ending.
The solution. It was the only logical conclusion that show could have reached, clearly. All right, number 18. What fictional language would you want to speak fluently, and how would you use it in real life?
What?
So I'm going to be a jerk here and take the voice from Dune. And I would use it for crime, mostly. Intimidation, my enemies, parking tickets. It'd be real bad to give me that power. Which is technically a language.
Yeah, I'm thinking animal speak. I don't really want to speak a specific to a specific kind of animal. I just kind of want to be able to speak to all of them. I guess maybe beast speak, you might call it.
See, I want to be a dick
Uh,
about it and be like, oh, I can do that right now. Hear me go kitty, kitty, kitty. And like, be like, yeah, you can already talk to animals. But no, the understanding's implied here in this context. You can speak it fluently.
right, right. So like you can actually like give more clear commands to animals, or you can just like use it to gather information, or like I mean, the most fun thing is just to like set up a troop of squirrels and teach them how to like do backflips and stuff.
But then the squirrels will know that you know too much. All right, to pivot off that one, if aliens visited and demanded a 3-part documentary explaining Earth's pop culture, what 3 shows or movies would you include?
Explaining Earth's current pop culture.
Yeah. So, hot take. I know one show would cover most of it, and it's actually Animaniacs. They go out of their way to recap human history in multiple occasions in that show.
Okay.
So that's my first one. Is I'm going with Animaniacs. You can pick second, and we have to agree on the third.
The Social Network.
I hate how you're using that. Ugh, no. All right. So we got
okay,
Animaniacs. And we have to give up the sum total of humanity's knowledge, and so far we have Animaniacs and the Social Network. All right, we need a third one to try and round this out a bit.
I'm thinking Doctor Who.
You know what? Agreed. This was easy to reach consensus, yeah. Because not only does that cover a lot of our history and values, but also will scare the shit out of those aliens if they think any of this is possible. It's like, oh no, the humans were able to stop the Daleks, and I'm going to be like, oh no, the Daleks are real? Uh-oh. It's like, yeah, the show was written by the Doctor himself, you idiot. Oh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
All right, number 15. Which historical figure would have the best chance of surviving in a dystopian sci-fi future?
Okay. Dystopian sci-fi future, huh?
Mm-hmm. Although, to be fair, that could still be a Road Warrior situation or a cyberpunk situation, who knows?
Hmm. Now, historical figure. Thinking. Processing, buffering.
I'm like, I don't want to say Genghis Khan. He's pretty hard to kill, though. But I'd like to send someone more useful, right? Like I want to be like, I'm feeling Einstein, but I'm not actually feeling Einstein.
Hmm. Well, see, it'd be nice if it was like a someone who actually has battle prowess.
Right? But my brain kind of went Joan of Arc, weirdly. Rasputin would be stupid. But he is the hardest to kill historical figure. It's hard to kill Rasputin.
It's hard to kill Rasputin.
So I'm foolishly sending in Rasputin like an idiot. Please tell me you have someone better you can send in than Rasputin. Like, I love the part where he succumbed to drowning allegedly. He could still be around. We don't know.
Okay, I think Houdini.
That's fun. I don't even care how well he does. I'd watch that movie.
Houdini sent to dystopia?
Like, my brain's like, do I want to go like William the Conqueror or Miyamoto Musashi? Queen Elizabeth the First, honestly, is pretty hard to kill. You know what? I'm going to go wild here. I'm just setting outright Bear Grylls.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if he's a historical figure at this point, but he's famous.
Yeah, but I just made myself sad because I'm like, well, I guess I'll send Steve Irwin then, and then I made myself sad.
Yeah. I hope there aren't any stingrays in this dystopian future.
Well, with the way humanity's going, there will not be.
Oh, they'll probably be mecha stingrays.
On that note, question 16. Your game designer forced to merge two games into one bizarre hybrid. What are the games and how do you combine them?
Forced to combine two games into a bizarre hybrid.
Man, most of my combos just turn into SD Gundam Gachapon Wars. Because I'm like, yeah, Fire Emblem and Gundam Braille. That existed. And it was peak.
Mario Kart Monster Hunter.
Please explain me the gameplay loop of this because you have my interest. Because we tend to weirdly actualize things we talk about on this podcast. If someone's listening and you get Monster Hunter Kart, that's your chance to pitch this to someone because I am deeply intrigued.
Well, okay, so the battle mode specifically would probably be one of the like. Obviously, there'll also be a race mode where you're chasing down the monsters to different areas, but you have different weapons already within the Mario Kart franchise, and then you could just basically add monsters to the tracks and be trying to avoid being hit by the monsters, getting to the finish line first, while also completing sub-quests of trying to destroy a certain number of monsters and collecting enough loot to upgrade your cart.
I think you invented Kirby Air Ride.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of like Kirby Air Ride, I suppose.
I'm picturing the part where Dynablade comes down and swipes at you, and if you kill Dynablade, it gives you a bunch of power-ups for the mystery events.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of cutting out the mystery events and adding more of the whole, like, Monster Hunter upgrade trees.
See, I'm loving especially the more Monster Hunter it is, where, like, the carts are made out of monster pieces.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like I'm getting behind on this idea. It is a peak idea. So I'm not
I
sure.
think it would be a pretty bizarre hybrid.
So I want to combine like Gen 1 Yu-Gi-Oh cards and like Tales of Phantasia or something. Like I want to take like a hard, well-written, like I want to combine Final Fantasy VII and Yu-Gi-Oh, where the combat system is Yu-Gi-Oh, but the storytelling is Final Fantasy VII. Like I want a game that I'm playing card games with a really good plot, and the card game is just like the battle system. Like instead of clicking my menus, I'm just straight up playing a full game of Magic the Gathering against this boss battle.
Huh.
That would go very well for my... Actually, no, scratch that. I know what I actually want. I want Mario Maker plus Armored Core.
So you make Armored Core levels?
Yes. So you make awesome gauntlet arena challenges for people to pilot their giant robots through. That is correct. So it'd be like building portal stages for your mech suit.
I really did enjoy the front mission games for the Super Nintendo.
Right?
They were pretty like the side-scrolling mecha games where you're like platformers where you're going through like gauntlets of enemies and
like realistically, I actually just want Mega Man Zero and Mario Maker called Mega Man Zero Maker, but Mega Man Maker kind of exists. It just wasn't an official game. But I feel like I can be more creative than this. I also kind of want a Gundam Breaker Battle Royale, but Battle Royales get boring to me quickly. So TLDR, I think because I like creating, like I like the stage makers type stuff more than I like the games. So it's like, all right, I want to take one of my favorite games with a 6-story mode and then build a fun, easy maker for it. Like, actually, okay. I kind of want a Final Fantasy maker. Like, not like an RPG studio, but like a Final Fantasy maker.
Okay, I think I have a more interesting and unique combination.
Your combo was good, though. You already won this round.
I mean, Crypt of the Necrodancer plus Gundam Breaker.
Oh, what?
Like yeah. A rhythm-based Gundam Breaker game.
So, I was playing this game called Broforce the other day on Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah, okay.
And it's awesome. It is, you have 4 buttons: jump, shoot, punch, and grenade.
Okay.
The main gameplay loop is when you get hit by any one shot, you die. But when you die, you switch to another character, and when you rescue characters, they become your backup lives. Every character is an homage to a 90s action movie. So they have the Brominator from Terminator, which is a Gatling gun, and its grenade turns into a robot mode. They got Ripley
Yeah.
from Predator, which was Bripley. We got
Ripley.
Mr. Broderson from The Matrix, whose gun is just punching people and has a bullet time grenade. Bro
Okay.
Cop, who's Time Cop. So Bronan the Barbarian. So that was this game was like it made you these bros and you were running gun and the entire environment was destructible. But it was like
Okay.
kind of crummy, like indie game crummy, right? I would
Yeah.
love so my crossover game is I would take that gameplay idea of your lives or your characters. You have all these fun characters, homages, you're blowing up the environment, and I would apply it probably to Dragon Ball Z. So a 2D Dragon Ball Z platformer, platformer with fully destructible environments, and a massive roster of characters where you just run pew pew punch and Kamehameha things. And like a high speed
okay.
running gun situation. Like basically Contra X Dragon Ball Z.
Mm.
Shall we move
Yeah.
on to the next one then?
Sure.
I think we have time for 2 more based on my arbitrary plots. Because we did
Okay.
not get through this full list because there's just some serious winners here. So,
Okay.
to follow up the which sidekick would make a bad solo movie or TV, which obscure superhero villain deserves a solo movie or TV? And who would you cast for it?
Oh. Mm. Obscure, huh?
So, I do legitimately think that One Punch Man live action, if we got the right person for Saitama, would actually be really good.
Mm.
We need someone effortlessly funny to be Saitama. And I not Ryan Reynolds funny. Like we need someone who's deadpan funny. Like a young Jon Stewart. Because old Jon Stewart wouldn't do it. So, yeah, I think Saitama would be a very interesting actual movie. Because it's such a good parody already. But it'd probably be worse in live action. But if we want to go actual DC, Marvel, whoever superhero villain that deserves a solo movie, I'm gonna be real and I'm gonna be rough here. John Oliver is Calendar Man. Just the movie straight up Calendar Man.
Mm.
The idea of him doing his crimes on holidays, hoping Batman will eventually care.
Hoping that Batman will eventually care.
Man, I was about to say Channing Tatum Gambit, like that wasn't a huge thing that still somehow didn't happen.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's.
I'm gonna go weird. I'm gonna go weird. Follow me on this journey for a moment. Keanu Reeves is Mr. Swetengu.
Why? Why?
Why not? So first off, Mr. Swetengu obviously would be a sick solo movie. Because it was better than the main character in his movie.
Yeah.
Mr. Swetengu is just a weird villain to get a solo movie. I don't know if Keanu Reeves is right. I want someone more grounded and angry.
Right.
Plus, people seeing Keanu Reeves as just an overt villain, I think would be fun for Keanu Reeves.
Let's see. Okay. Oh. Now I'm just.
For the record,
oh, man.
For the record, Kirby deserves a solo movie, but he doesn't get to be either of those things. And you cast as Kirby as the original voice actor of Kirby, and it has to either be the best puppet anyone's ever made or Kirby's guy.
You know what is most likely an obscure option here? Doron to Doron.
I don't think that's a superhero or supervillain, though, but it is an obscure movie. I'll give you that.
He's kind of a superhero.
I'm allowing it. Obviously, I'm allowing it. Who do you have playing this character?
Who do I have playing the main character?
So the thing is, I think the main character for that movie you need new talent for. I think the real question is who do you have voicing as Gastrodon? Because it has to be someone beloved playing the little adorable demon on his shoulder. That needs to be like
Patrick Stewart or
Ooh, that's good. Yes. I was going Michael Caine.
Or Ian McKellen. He
Right?
would also be.
I like how we went
Well,
like gruff, like old man voice for the adorable thing instead of going like Taylor Swift or something.
oh, rest in peace, Duran Duran Duran.
Indeed.
Duran
That's
Duran.
pretty obscure. Like, uh, Andy Samberg as psychic detective Chihiro would be pretty great.
That's a pretty perfect casting.
Feeling pretty good about that one. But like obscure heroes and villains are hard to think because like nothing in Marvel or DC is actually obscure anymore. The moment Rocket Raccoon showed up in a film, those two are basically genres are tapped out.
Yeah,
So it's
that's
like
true.
you like have to go in a different direction for superheroes and villains. Like I'm not just going to be like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring back Heath Ledger from the grave and have him play Kefka in my Final Fantasy VI movie.
So I mean, a movie about Jace, the mind sculptor, or
Okay.
magic. I mean, if you talk to anybody about magic, he's pretty iconic. But outside
But
of the nerds, he's kind of unheard of.
it's an interesting concept. Who do you have playing him, though? I'm curious the direction you're going with this. Or is it just going to be Keanu Reeves again? You know, Robert Downey Jr. would actually do a great Jace.
Keanu Reeves is not the right answer for every role. I'm sorry.
No, I feel Robert Downey Jr. would do a good Jace, actually, unironically. Because Jace is basically just Sherlock Holmes, but wizard.
I'm thinking a little bit more unhinged. I really like Gene Wilder.
That's pretty unhinged. Yeah, I could get behind that. And for our final question. Now that's a Pokemon question. I'll skip that one.
Yeah.
If you could rewrite the ending of any fantasy or sci-fi series or movie, which would you pick and how would you change it?
Well, the obvious answer is Kaido, the right answer, but the change?
What would you do is hard. So here's how I'd end Kaido. I'll help you out with this one. Here's how I'd end Kaido.
Okay.
It would be a Rocks Falls Everyone Die line. They would lose the negotiation. Earth would be devoured into the cube, and he would say, "Well played," and flick over a chess piece. That's how I would have ended it.
Yeah, okay. I would have
Evangelion that shit.
It would be very satisfying and yet not at the same time.
Or like, I like the idea that he like wipes out the Earth, and like the guy negotiated to have like our golden disc go out into space, so at least humankind left a record. Right. But ending Kaido, you made a task for yourself, but you're right. I'm going low hanging fruit, so I'm going Rise of Skywalker, right?
Okay.
And here's how I'm fixing it. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm throwing it out, going back to The Last Jedi. The things I set up in The Last Jedi, like Rey going evil, Kylo Ren going good, them inverting the roles, the Empire and the Rebels basically being wiped out, new children learning the Force. Like, I would have just wrote the movie they thought they were setting up. And no one is living through that thing. No iconic character is surviving. It is the opposite of A New Hope. If you have your named character, you are not living through Richard's version of The Rise of Skywalker, which instead is The Fall of Skywalker. But I'm also going to give the even easier answer for a sci-fi fantasy series. Check it. Here's how I rewrite it. At the end of Naruto, right? You following me? Naruto and Sasuke get married and don't have children. Nailed it. Done. Fixed. Man, Kaido's a hard one to fix.
Since the ending was so bad.
But also so hard to end.
Yeah.
Because Because, like, my thoughts
Mm.
are, like, going for, like, the nihilistic ending, or, to quote Star Trek Lower Decks, if both sides leave it away from a negotiation unhappy, it means it was successful. So it's like, you have to, like, it ending with, like, a negotiation where mankind lives, and he loses under some sort of rational argument is just hard to do, but is what it'd have to be.
Yeah, I agree.
It pretty much basically,
Mm.
like, he'd have to do one of those. The negotiation breaks down to effectively be, you need us to be conscious to work as your battery. So the negotiation is, if you go through putting us in the cube, all of our brains will now shut off and you get nothing. Like, you basically have to be like, I'll kill us all.
Mm.
You kept us alive for a reason. The bombs have been primed. Either leave or die. He's like, I gave you free power and everything. It's like, not worth it, bruh. No deal.
Okay, now I'm getting thinking about movies that have had mediocre endings.
Yeah, probably not the funnest topic to end on, but a good one. See, like, there's so many anime and manga where I'm like, oh yeah, give me a pen in 30 minutes and I'll fix that. But, like, Bleach is weirdly fixing itself right now, so I'm just gonna let him cook.
Oh yeah, because he's basically writing everything he wanted to write when he had cancer.
Yeah, and then is also working on the sequel that happens afterward to, like, dive into the whole health thing he set up and never paid off. I'm like, I'm gonna let you cook. You actually have a chance to get not Boruto yourself. Naruto also, like, I've went in probably 3 hours over this podcast explaining how the Great Ninja War would be fixed by having 4 less boss battles in the boss rush at the end.
Hmm.
The Last
That it
Jedi is
would.
harder to like, Rise of Skywalker is harder to fix, but it really is. Last Jedi was so polarizing that the solution was to write a movie that followed that instead of trying to course correct back into the blandest possible route. Like, you
Hmm.
wanted the last movie of that trilogy to either be objectively good or objectively bad, but they made it objectively bland, which made it objectively bad. And I'll never not get over that dagger that standing on a hill lines up to the Death Star to find the location. It's the single worst written thing that's ever happened.
Lines up with the broken Death Star that has not broken down any further since that knife was forged.
So bad. That's perched in the ocean on a planet, but is in the exact right position. If the dagger was straight up magic, it would have made me less mad. Oh,
Um,
also, you haven't seen Gundam Witch from Mercury, but they kind of forgot to have a last battle, and I'd fix that by having the last battle actually happen instead of a sparkly rainbow killing everything.
okay, so I don't know if you count a movie like Hellraiser as fantasy.
No, I count it as
Um,
sci-fi, but go ahead.
well, yeah, because I mean, like the Cenobites and the cube or whatever, and at the end of the movie, the main character, she manages to escape by burning down the house. But the actual ending, is that, like, the house burns down, like, completely, like, atomized within a matter of like 10 minutes in the movie,
That's some good fire.
and then B, um, a random demon just shows up and picks up the cube and flies away.
I hate
That's
it.
the end of the movie.
I hate that so much.
Yeah, and I mean, I know that there's sequels, and the sequels might delve more into what exactly was happening there.
But I believe
But I
movies should
just,
be standalone. I firmly believe that.
yeah, I really do. Um, I think it would have been just a much more satisfying ending if she's like going through the rubble of the house and she finds the cube and then just like hucks it into the ocean.
No one hucks enough things into the ocean. People like to hide things in places they can find them.
Well, I mean, and then it still leaves room for the sequel where someone's doing some undersea diving and they're like, "Oh, sweet treasure," and then get taken in by the Cenobites into their dimension or whatever. Like it leaves it open still because the cube isn't destroyed. But
Fair.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and one I was thinking of that would be an easy ending. A lot of times it's just like not leaving that room for a sequel, especially for manga and anime, makes the ending so much stronger. So
Hmm?
Inuyasha had this dramatic ending where like the jewel comes alive, tries to absorb them to defeat it with the power of love, and then she goes back
Okay.
through the magic well, finishes school, then comes back to the feudal era and chooses to live there. That was a huge
Well,
mistake. So
yeah,
one
that
thing they
makes no
missed at
sense.
here's what confused me about the ending of Inuyasha is they didn't have a plot device turn all the demons into humans at the end. Because Inuyasha, between the time period it takes place, which is like 100 years ago, and now, there's no demons at all.
Right.
So I was shocked they didn't use the wishing on the jewel for the jewel to be no more. Didn't just turn all the demons into humans. And the
Huh.
cost should have been that she could never go home. Right? That's what would have
Right.
made the choice impactful.
Mhm.
And then she's just her own grandmother or some bullshit. But yeah, like
That's about right.
they want to leave it open so they could sequel it, I guess. So they didn't like wipe the status quo clean. Sort of
Mm.
like how the solution to Death Note was to end it after he killed L instead of bringing it back with a new, less interesting character.
Like Tokyo Ghoul, where it's like built up all this like immense, like horrifying, like war stuff, and then they're just like, okay, and we're just gonna time skip and start a whole new show.
Then My Hero's pacing, like My Hero's problem was that they rushed the ending by also making it super long. It's like we have this 200 long fight scene and didn't bother to give them year 2 and 3 of high school in our high school show.
Well, to be fair, are they even actually in school?
The final fight took place in the flying school. And then JJK. They just needed 5 less characters to jump Sukuna. That's how they're planning to end this.
No, I think they needed like 20 less characters to jump Sakuna.
And also, they needed, like, if you're going to use Hammer Person at the end to wake up and you set up Chekhov's Hammer Person, you
Mm.
waited too long for that to have payoff. Like, and they
Yeah,
got the
that
lost
they did.
shot. I'm like, but they weren't even in the show for most of it. They didn't even make it
Yeah,
halfway through the show.
yeah. I've the Shonen Jump app was like, read all JJK. So I started reading it, and firstly, if you skip chapters 0, it definitely does just feel way more like a shonen show
Oh, yeah.
series. Uh, but then secondly, it's like Hammer Check was gone for so long that I didn't even realize she was introduced in like chapter 3.
Yeah.
Like she should have been a long running character that mainstayed and but it's like no, they're already going to the idol transformation. People get their souls transformed and die.
Yeah, like, JJK was interesting because it's like they wanted to do the Naruto 3-man squad, and they copied the
Mhm.
Sakura part, and I don't know why they did because they wrote a way cooler character than Sakura to then Sakura them. Like the voodoo hammer concept was actually like one of their more inspired idea concepts for a character. And
Mhm.
they introduced pretty early on that they were a natural Sukuna countermeasure.
Right.
It's like they set up this Chekhov's gun, but the battlefield was so chaotic we didn't even care which bullets were being fired because Sukuna got killed 4 times. And like at one point he's literally like, "Well, we crushed his heart and he should be dead." Oh, he did the reverse, inverse, converse. By landing a black flash, he could heal himself. I'm like, that's a rule now? I don't like that. Why is that a rule? But the
Yeah, I know something about the Black Flash
but yeah, no, like
activating on full cylinders. Like I don't know,
a
it's
lot of
weird.
these anime would take too much effort for me to just fix the ending to fix it. Because it's like
Mm.
Kaido's such a good example because they dropped the ball at the last second. So
Right.
here's like what I would really fix. So Char's counterattack was a really good movie, except it
Mm.
had 2 dumb things. It had this piece of psycho frame that was like a little T square that felt like it was super important, even though that's technically what the mobile suit was made of.
Okay.
So it like flies off and does magic sparkly things to connect the battlefield. I'm like, okay, whatever. But in the original cut, they failed to stop the asteroid. It just hits the Earth, and that's where Gundam comes to an end. And they retconned it that the
Yeah.
power of friendship. See, in the original, the power of the friendship, everyone worked together to try and stop it, but still failed. but then because they all
Right.
came together to try and stop it, and they failed, humanity kind of developed, and then they retcon that to do more sequels. So, like if you have the courage to blow up the Earth, commit to it. Is my takeaway. And we're not going to do
I
any
agree.
random questions because that was the entire episode.
So yeah, self-care, hydrate.
Most CEOs
Yeah.
are probably dragons, and technically 5 of them have more money than Smaug. The math was done.
More money than Smaug.
Oh, and let us know in the comments how your objectively correct opinion would change the ending of your favorite sci-fi or fantasy thing that you think had a bad ending. Bye.
Bye.
I do love with my objectively correct opinion, here's how I'd fix this movie. I would go for number 3 to the second part of the trilogy, right? And then write a movie that follows that one logically in any way, shape, or form. I was tempted to say I would fix Star Wars' sequel trilogy by replacing it with Dune. The best Star Wars movie by far.
Well,
but I'd say that went pretty well.
I think so too.